Hi, Purpose Partner. Welcome to another episode of Rise to Your Purpose, a personal and spiritual development podcast for female entrepreneurs with a mission. We are your hosts, Brandy and Natalie.
We are founders of Victorious Entrepreneurs Rising, where we guide women to build profitable businesses online through diversifying your income, using kingdom principles in marketing, and operating in a spirit of rest so that you can create kingdom impact.
After this episode, be sure to join our Purpose Partner Facebook community and get your copy of our Rise to Your Purpose devotional so we can continue to serve you as we partner together in our faith and business. Let's dive into today's episode.
All right. Hey, Purpose Partners. This is Natalie. I'm back on another episode of Rise to Your Purpose, and I'm here today with a new friend, Shaniya Witcher. We actually met in Denver just like a few weeks ago at the beginning of June. So whenever you're catching this, but we met at a conference called Embrace Your Ambition. That was actually really neat just how this all happened because I wasn't even supposed to be there. I found out about it like 2 weeks before, and I last minute was like, I got a weekend free. Like, let's go. I met the girl, you met Janine. I went there, like, this was the first time I met her. So I just love how God like aligns everything. And then you shared your story. And I thought, oh my gosh, like one, I could just relate to like little bits and pieces of things. And then I just loved your boldness and just seeing what God was doing in your life. So I knew I wanted to definitely get to know you better, introduce you to our purpose partners and all the women here because we love sharing stories of how women are rising to their purpose and how they're just like following and God, like what God is calling them to do, and just like walking in that humble obedience without maybe even really knowing what the outcome is going to be. So thank you for being on the podcast with us.
No, thank you, Natalie. I didn't know that you weren't planning to be at that event.
Mm-hmm.
I also wasn't planning to be at that event until the very last second.
Oh, wow.
So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to know that even in this, that we are meeting on purpose, for purpose. And so I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And so just to give you guys a little background, you can share more too, Shaniya. So you're an intern with Generation Y, which am excited for you guys all to know about, and you need to go support them because their mission is incredible. So we'll dive into that a little bit. And then I'm going to say you're a future speaker, podcast host, and author, because I know that is definitely going to be part of your future. And then you're working on your master's degree. So you're just definitely going to you're just a light wherever. I mean, I feel like probably wherever you go, you just raise the energy of the room. I could just tell that from the conference and just from the work that you guys are doing with Gen Y. I mean, it's incredible. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, and we'll just kind of dive into your journey because that's really why I went to this podcast. Like, I want people to hear your story and really just how you talked about intentionality, and also I want to talk about empty hands, like that's kind of the theme and the topic for this podcast and kind of what she shared at conference. And I thought I want to just continue to get that story out there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll go from there.
Okay, yeah, I'll start with a little bit of the present and then I'll go backwards. So in this current moment, I am a full-time student going to get my master's degree to become a marriage and family therapist. I am a program director at a youth center or a nonprofit organization called the Urban Bridge. And I am also an intern with Generation Y, also known as Gen Y, where I speak and dance and do all things creative. I am a Virginia native. I grew up in a city called Norfolk, Virginia, with my siblings, my parents, and then I graduated and went to college in North Carolina. Growing up, I always knew that I was a dancer, and my mom always encouraged me to speak. I used to say things like, I'm going to be the voice of my generation, just because it sounded cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really, didn't really understand the impact of one, the Bible, when it says life and death is in the power of the tongue, even as a child. All right. And I didn't even understand how that will shape my beliefs down the road as I'm like learning about myself identity wise. I just said it was because it was cool. And so that was me. I danced, I like to speak. I like to have fun and make people feel good, make people smile, make people happy. But I never really knew. I never really understood what I was here to do. So when
Mm.
you're a child, it's like be a teacher, be a nurse, be a veterinarian. And my sister, who's only 11 months older than me, I love her so much.
Yeah.
She knew, she had the name. She's like, I'm gonna be a veterinarian. It's gonna be Shabria's pet and vet, and I'm gonna do this. And me, the creative brain, is like, I don't know
You're like, oh no.
I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm gonna do. Just gonna go to school and just hopefully something will meet me along the way. Um,
Mhm.
and that is exactly what happened. Only the something was Holy Spirit. And it happened time and time again. And so when I went to college, I went undeclared nursing because from my framework, I'm like, I like to help people. And so if you're a girl and you like to help people, you want to be a nurse.
Yeah.
I went to undergrad and did undeclared nursing. And then after maybe my first year, I'm like, this is not it. This is not it. And so I'm trying to narrow it down and I'm starting so broad in my head, going to school empty-handed, no plan.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so it's not nursing. I like to help people. I love kids. I want to be a teacher. So then I went into I went into elementary education and I did that for about a semester. And I took an exam. I remember taking one of those exams they have you take. And so maybe it was a year. And so I did that and I'm like, this is not it. And I was in the moment, it seems like an easy process now, but I'm going through college. Like one day I have to find a job. One day I have to I need to figure this out. It was a lot more stressful than I'm making it sound. Because at the same time, like I have a sister who's charting her path in biology because
Right.
she knows like have people around me who are kind of like, I'm going for journalism, going this. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
what am I doing?
Right. Well,
I
and
also,
culture makes you feel like you have to have it figured out, or you have to be on
right.
this set path, or, or what are you doing with your life? And so it's like that's a lot of pressure on a
It is a lot of
person going into
pressure.
college.
It's a lot of pressure. So I'm just like, I have to figure it out. And one thing I'm so grateful that I didn't do was settle for like misunderstanding myself and just saying like, well, this is where I'm going to plant myself. There was something that if I wasn't comfortable or if I didn't have the peace, I'm like, I have to shift. Even if I don't know what the shift is, I have to put myself in a position where something else can happen. So
Mm.
I end up talking to some advisors, and one of my close friends at the time, she was a psychology major. And so we're spending time together, I'm learning about what she's learning about. And I'm like, wow, this psychology is so broad. You can do
Mhm.
so much with it and is directly connected to helping people. So at this point, I'm in my junior year. So it's like I don't have a lot of time to figure out what I want to do with it, but I have enough credits and time to get the degree. So I'm like, we're
Right.
gonna get the degree, figure everything else out along the way. Um, and then the easiest route at the time to me seemed to be human resources. So I said, I'll get this psychology degree, go into human resources. I'm helping people. I'm a big girl now, so maybe that I'm supposed to get a big girl job. Human resources seems like a big girl job.
Yeah.
Let's go that route. And so now I'm pouring into that human resources bucket, and simultaneously going through an identity shift. Because what
Mm.
I didn't realize at the time is from freshman year up into junior year, although I grew up in church, although I was dancing in the youth ministry with my mother and Veggie Tales all day, every day.
Yeah.
I was living my adult life with my autonomy without God. And
Mm.
it was, it was the moment that I realized that was so daunting because I knew him, I knew of him, but my life without him was a mess.
Mm.
Identity crisis to the max. Just a lot of perversion, a lot of me just being a manipulative person. And I didn't realize that I was living like so blindly to everything until a very serious moment in my apartment where it was just me and God, and I was concerned about my younger sister's mental health,
Mm,
and I'm 3 hours away from home. Something crazy is happening back at the house,
yeah.
and I'm trying to call everybody on the phone. Like, if I can talk to my mom, she can make me feel better. If I can get my sister on the phone, nobody was answering. And in that moment, I realized, like, wow, the only person I have to call on is God. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. This is
Yeah.
the first time that you've thought about this since being outside of your mother's house, because you've been doing what you want to do, being in the wrong crowds, being influenced by culture and everything that the world has to offer.
Right.
And I sat there in that moment, and it's kind of, I gave my life back to God in that moment. And that was maybe like 2 seconds before the pandemic started.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it was like a very crazy moment for me. And I
Mhm.
realized, like God, I've been doing this without you, and I don't want to go another second. Like, I've been 22 years just kind of taking on relationship with you from what people are telling me,
Mhm.
what I'm hearing from someone else's experience, but I've never desired to encounter you myself. And in that moment, it was kind of like the seed that changed the rest of my life.
Mm.
And so um, from that moment, um, I've changed my major. I still don't, at this moment, I haven't decided on human resources. And so I changed my major. I'm in psychology, and I know I'm graduating in 2 years, and I have to figure it out. And the pandemic starts, and I've met God. So there's a lot going on. Um, and so because I realized I had gone so far, so long without him, I'm like, I have to figure out some way to ingest this word. I have to figure out a way to get to know God outside of the music that I'm listening to, because as a creative, as a dancer, it's easy for me to connect through music.
Mhm.
Uh, and sometimes I could use that as an excuse to actually be intentional in getting to know the heart and the character of God, because I like to dance, so I feel connected, but I'm not talking to him. I'm not reading about him. And so I'm like, I have to figure out Veggie Tales is not enough. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I remember.
Gotta up level a little bit from VeggieTales.
I remember all the songs. Me and my sister still sing them to this
Yeah.
day,
Oh, yeah. I grew up.
26 and 27. And so I think we will sing them for the rest of our lives, honestly. But I started watching sermons as a means at the time to learn more. And as I'm looking on YouTube, I come across Transformation Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So now I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina, watching a church that's 16 hours away. And it was something that, just the energy, just the presence, the way Pastor Michael Todd was teaching, that caught my attention in that moment. And I just began binge watching service. So sermon after sermon, I'm not doing anything else after class. I'm not doing anything else. I'm in my room, and it became a beautiful place of obscurity, because I became so passionate. I was making notes and posting them all on my wall. Like, it was amazing to
I
think
love
about
that. It's like your
that.
own revival within your spirit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's crazy to even think, you like, to be in a room. You're not, and getting the experience from being in a church, or a minister is bringing that out of you. Like, God, the God of the heavens, has looked down on me and has met me in this room, and it's
Mhm.
changing my life, and nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody can see this. It's not streamed on television. It was just such an intimate moment, in an intimate time. And so after maybe a month of watching it, still thinking about like what I'm gonna do when I'm graduating. I'm like, I feel like God is wanting me to go to Oklahoma. I still haven't decided on human resources. So I'm like, this sounds crazy, but I really feel called. Once I graduate, I need to go to Oklahoma. And I remember sitting in my room, and I'm like, God, if you figure out how to get me there, I'll go.
Mm.
And so maybe a month after that, I'm going through my school emails and I see that my advisor sent this internship opportunity with Amazon. And it's for human resources. So I'm that point, I'm just like, well, I need to do something with my degree. So I'm gonna fill out the application. We'll just see what happens. And so fill out this application. I take the assessment, it's asking math questions, and I'm like literally on a piece of cardboard doing math to try to figure out like what answer I'm gonna put. And I end up getting this internship. And pandemic hits, I get the internship. I'm thinking that I'll go to Oklahoma for the internship. I'll spend about 8 weeks there. I'll change radically. I'll come back to North Carolina, and that'll be the story.
Okay.
Well, no, because with the pandemic, they started shutting down travel. And so they sent a laptop to us and said, we're not going to send you anywhere. You'll do the internship from where you are. And I'm like, well, what gives? I thought that I was supposed to be at this church.
Yeah.
And so I complete the internship before my summer even starts. Oh no, it was in the midst of my summer. Before my senior year started, Amazon offered me a full-time role as a human resource assistant and told me to rank 50 states. And so they said, well, try to get you in the place that you want. We have facilities all over the United States. So you rank what states you want to be in. And then they list all 40 or 50 of them. And I'm like, okay, I'll put Oklahoma number one.
Right.
Everything else is like Virginia, North Carolina, Florida. I want to be close to home. If I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna stay.
Right.
So, they ended up sending me to Oklahoma, and I remember the day I opened the email, and I was like, I cried. I said, "Mom, I don't want to go. I don't want to go."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, which is so funny because you, in one moment, you're like, God, I'll do anything. Take me where you want to go. And he's like, go to Nineveh. And it's like, wait, no, I don't want to do that.
I know the feeling.
I was crying, and my mom's like, no, no. It's been praying on me my entire life. So she's like, no, this is God ordained. Just knowing her walking through my transformation journey with me, she's like, you have to go. It's happening. And
Mm.
so completed my senior year with a job secured. When I started, empty-handed, undeclared nursing, not knowing, not having a plan, somewhat not caring that I didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
And all of this is now laid out. And I'm like, wow.
And
Okay.
and the things that come, two words came to mind, like anointed, well, three words: anointed, appointed time, and then favor. It's like, here you were, not even graduate yet, and out of all these probably applicants in the United States and wherever, you got chosen to be, doing what your degree was going to be in. And like you said, God, if you help me get there, I'll go. And they're like, which state do you want to
If
go
you'll send me,
to? I mean, how many? Yeah, empty hands and open doors, right?
wow, yes, exactly that. And so I get to Oklahoma, and I I get here in late January of 2021. It's still very fresh in my spiritual walk, but very committed, my heart. And that's one thing I really love about our Father. Like,
Mhm.
it's not that you are perfect, but if your heart desires to like be in alignment, be in right relationship with him, then like
Oh
his
yeah.
grace literally covers everything, and Holy Spirit walks with you. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a year. Doesn't happen like it, but
Yeah,
it
well, it
happens.
happens. And like you said, it's your intentional heart too, and your desire to know him more. And then he's just shown me time and time again just how faithful and like good he is, and that he just loves us unconditionally. And he just says, daughter, I just want to like talk to you. I just want you to be with me. I just want you to share your plans with me, and then I'll direct your steps, and it's just, and then having that, being like you were, okay, God, like being willing to be obedient. There's a book I love. It's called What Happens When Women Say Yes. I think I share it with you. What happens when women say yes to God and walk in faith? And I always think of that phrase of like, okay, if God is calling me to do this, what if I do say yes? And I just trust him and believe what he says. even if I don't know what's,
Right.
beyond that. And it makes me think of the Israelites when Joshua was leading them into the promised land. At this point, they had to step into the water before he would part the waters, right? They had to
Yeah.
be willing to take that faith step and believe that, okay, God's going to protect us, God's going to provide for us.
Yeah.
So it's really he's like giving, provision for your vision at this point.
Man, and so one thing that I didn't, that's really good, because it reminds me of one thing that I did not share. In that obscure moment of me just being like in his presence and just soaking, and just him just being so like potent in my life in obscurity when nobody knew, he had given me a vision for ministry. And I remember it was like September 29th. This is as I'm watching the Crazy Faith series, and they're talking about the importance of writing down visions. Well, I wake up at 2 a.m. and I have this vision of this massive dance ministry. So I go and I write everything down, and it ended up my mom had a dance ministry when I was like 6 or 7, and it kind of mirrored the same kind of structure that she had, or the function, I'll say. And so I wrote all of this down, and I'm like, wow, God, you're gonna do this. And I thought it was gonna be like I was like, tomorrow. So I'm going to the church that I'm at, the local church that I'm at, and I'm like, this is what God gave me, and it's gonna be so great. And everybody's like,
Okay.
but that just being a baby in Christ at the time, I was thinking like, you gave it to me yesterday, so it's gonna happen tomorrow. Um, and that's a very important part of the piece, because as he's like parting seas for me now, he's simultaneously, as I'm focusing on him and he's changing me, he's still bringing this ministry into pass even today. And so he's just doing so many different wonders. It's not just one thing, and it's not just one thing at a time either. And so I just feel like it's so important for me and for us as women in Christ believers overall to like internalize the parting of the sea and the feeding of the 5,000 in our own lives, because that's how we are tracking. Oh no, he's going to do what he said. This was a promise. It wasn't an idea. It wasn't just you. It hasn't been you.
Yeah.
And so
And
um
it's like being aware too of where he's moving and working, and being willing to relate. Like you said, we feel like, okay, we get this vision, like I can totally relate, like I'm like, okay, God told me this, like this is what's going to happen, and you see it so clearly that you're like, okay, let's make it happen now. And then God's like, well, we need to, there's got to be some other people, some other things in place, but he's always working and moving, and we just have
yeah.
to really release the timeline and the results to him, but be willing to keep, taking those steps in like where he's directing or guiding us, or where we're feeling led, knowing that, okay, he's like working all the pieces together, and trusting, like it's just continuously trusting in him. And I think it's like a daily, like you're saying, this is daily, like a daily renewal in your mind and in your walk with him, and of just continuously telling, okay, Lord, I trust you, and releasing that to him. But knowing that I believe if he gives you a vision, if he gives you a dream, and that dream and desire is not going away when you're continuously seeking him, it's for you. Like he'll remove the things that are more of the world, or more of like, what isn't for you, and he'll keep giving you what you want if you're seeking him. And so it's just also like holding on to that and not giving up on that, if but being okay that it's not happening today or tomorrow. It might be. Then he kept telling me, don't despise your season of preparation. So those are
Yeah.
what I've clung to as well. Like, okay, you're in the season of preparation for what more that he has for you.
Yes, and I feel like that's so that's so important for us, because the season of preparation is not fun at
Mhm.
all. It's not even sometimes it's not even a little bit fun, and it makes you question, like, what did you say?
Yeah.
I really thought we had this conversation, but it's seeming like we're talking about, we were discussing a vision one day, and now I'm in this season where the only thing that seems important is my integrity. I don't see how that connects.
Mhm.
because sometimes that causes us to go without things, or like we have to be in seasons, and that this isn't everybody's story, but I've experienced having to go through season of financial hardship as a means, like, God, how are we talking about this and I'm struggling here, but this has something to totally to do with like something totally unrelated to the vision, but the person that's going to carry it.
Right.
And so as I like moved to Oklahoma, I'm like, oh, well, it didn't happen there. It's gonna happen now. Surely it's gonna happen now. And as an act of faith, I will say, I started writing things down and try to make things tangible. So I made a T-shirt with the Crates logo on it. That's the name of the ministry, and I started doing an outreach, or I did like a feeding a homeless, and I like made 30 plates of spaghetti, just like, God, if this is where it's going to happen, then I'm going to do something here with it. And so I did that, and I ended up meeting um, another good friend of mine. Her name is Beck, and she invited me to church. So this is my first opportunity to be in a church space in Oklahoma, because at this point it's maybe March, so I've been here 3 months. I've been doing online church because I know transformation. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I was gonna stick here until I figure it out. So I meet her, and she invites me to church. I end up going, and I meet my community, the people that are like my best friends today. I met 3 months into being in Oklahoma, and it's like when I met them, it felt like we knew each other. And so the conversation started and it hasn't stopped. And there's been opportunities of growth and development through my relationship with them, because beautifully, one of the things that seems like a God kiss for me is that all of them are creatives in their own right. So my best friend Deanne, she is a spoken word artist, and she's traveled the United States with her poetry, and it's so beautiful, breathtaking. She did a piece on sex trafficking called "What Is Your Favorite Color," and every time she tells it, like the room is filled with just tears, and because she's so good at what she does. And her husband, which they weren't married at the time that I met them, he is an artist, so he sings, he raps, and there's a couple of like musical artists in the group, and then we have photographers, people that are in the fashion, Beck paints. And so like at the time it was just like, wow, and I'm the dancer.
Y'all have, yeah, everybody comes together with their gifts
And so for me, coming out of like college into that like new, fresh relationship with God, I needed to see people who were using their gifts to glorify Him, because all I was used to in college was just partying and
yeah.
doing what you want with your gifts, making it sound however you want it to sound or look anyway. And so it kind of helped me come into a purification place, because one of my really good friends, Steven, he is one of those artists. He really helped me understand why it's so important for us to guard our ears and our eyes. And so I stopped listening to secular music, which I thought would be so difficult for me to do as a dancer. Like,
Yeah.
music is how I express myself. So
Right.
if I can't listen to anything and it was just like, I don't have enough of it to feel like this can sustain me. And so as I'm just getting close to these people, like things are starting to fall off of me, and I'm learning more about God, learning Him in depth, and even having opportunities to be a part of the different ministries they're doing. And that's kind of what has gotten me as I'm working at Amazon. That's what's like been keeping me grounded. And to think, like, just speaking all this out, to think like God had all this lined up, like no time wasted. Um, I'm at Amazon, and then in February of this year, I would have been working there for 2 years. And I'm in school, things are kind of crazy. And we end up going to a new ministry And this is where I go to church now, called the birthing room. And that atmosphere totally, it kind of like just snatches everything, everything that was just like kind of loose. It kind of just pulled it all together. And what I love about my ministry so much is that they are propellers. Like they're like, go forth, step into what God is calling you to do. If you are a creative, create. If you are a writer, write. Go do what God, and they create an atmosphere where you learn that God, relationship with God is so important, but it's not about striving. It's about learning to rest in Him and taking Him into every aspect of your life, inviting Him into every. And so it really just kind of, it was kind of like the fine tuning. I'm like, wow. So now I'm really like feeling like, wow, God, you're doing some amazing things. And then February of this year comes and I'm having to leave my job. And I'm like, what, what's going on? What is happening right now? I thought that like I'm gonna get in my community, be in the church, feel like I'm doing everything well, and have money. Now I'm having to leave. But the beautiful thing about like having people in my community is that like I'm not the first person doing this.
Mhm.
Like my couple of the people in my community have left their jobs and have gone through the season of not having for the sake of pursuing purpose. And so I had a comfort, like, God, you did it for them. So
Mhm.
it seems crazy. I still don't know what I'm doing. I don't have a plan. I'm still
Yeah.
empty handed, but and I'm still want to leave. And so I left my job February 1st of 2023. And I'm like, now what? Empty handed. I don't.
So you just a kind of you were leaving just by the basis that you felt like God was calling you to leave.
So at my job, they were trying to change our shifts
Okay.
and they wanted me to go to a night shift. And I could I could have gone to the night shift, but with being in school and like
Was
everything that God was doing as far as like with my church ministry would have hindered me from being at church and all of the things. I'm just like
yeah, you're
I
like choosing, you had to choose your faith in God, and yeah,
I'm like
love that you
if
said it's for pursuing your purpose and that He connected you, like these divine connections of building up these relationships and friends and people over time to kind of give you that, like, okay, like that encouragement and confidence of like, I can move forward even if all this isn't in place. But, and you
I
know,
needed that because I'm not sure if I would have the same confidence had I not seen my friends walk away from their job and like seeing God how He covered them and provided for them like over that time. I'm so close that when it happens, like I'm hearing the down days. I'm hearing the days that you are struggling in your faith, and so I appreciate that happening because when I don't know, like it helped me prioritize. Like this relationship with God is so important that if it came to it, then I would leave. And I had to make that
decision.
decision. So now I'm like, I'm gonna just focus on school. And I just knew like there were little things that I would see while I was working, but because I was working, didn't have the opportunity to participate in. One of those things was Generation Y. And another one of those things is the nonprofit organization that I serve at now. And so the first, when I say I think my last day was a Wednesday. That following Wednesday is when I went to a Generation Y event.
Oh, wow.
I'm like at my first availability, I'm like, I'm in there. And so I was invited by one of my friends in the community, Stu, because he takes pictures for them. Stu was at
Oh,
Denver.
yeah. Okay.
Um, he's amazing. And it's like he didn't tell me too much about it. He was like, I just think you should come. These are like people that I feel you would really enjoy. All
Mm,
he said.
love that.
So Generation Y does events all over the United States. And the one that he invited me to just so happened to be in Oklahoma City. So maybe a 10-minute drive. I got there. I didn't know what to expect. And so they're setting up and I'm like, how can I help?
Oh,
I don't know what I can give you. So like can I help you set up this stuff? And I'm able to talk. And when I see what they do, my mind is like, God, I left my job a week ago.
Yeah.
And now I get to be in a gymnasium full of children and hearing Julian and Jordan talk about like purpose, things that matter, things that matter in life. And also see like dancers like, it's like, this was this for me? You
Yeah.
created this for me? And the next day I had a meeting at the nonprofit. So everything is just not falling into place. And I don't know where the money is coming from, but I'm just like, I know whatever I'm gonna do, it's gonna be tied to purpose. Now that I've identified that, like, what my purpose is. And I didn't say when I went back to school, even how I started school was crazy because I was on a lunch break looking for other jobs.
Okay.
I went on the school's website and I'm like, well, I'm here. Let me look at the programs they have. And then I just found the marriage and family therapy program and I reached out for an informational. The director of the program emailed me, said, we're starting in like 3 weeks, but if you can get your application in, I'll give it to the board. We'll see what we can do. And now I'm 10 months from graduating. So
Yes.
like,
That's so exciting.
it's literally just been a sequence of like, you don't have to have it figured out, but because you're in my hands, I'm going to place you where you need to be. That's
Mhm.
been the sequence of my life. And so I get with Generation Y, and then after being in that, we meet at Denver. and,
Yes.
and so um, it's just been an insane journey, but I've been able to track God in the patterns, especially it's become easier as I've submitted more and more of myself to Him. I think a lot of it in the beginning was like, grace and favor and things. And now I'm like, God, this is your character. This is faith. Like, I don't have to know what happens tomorrow because you're going to order my steps. Like, you go before me. And so my prayer, as I even got on the stage in Denver, is like, God, like, I'm still in a new place. I've been with Gen Y for months. I started speaking maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago. And now I'm on a stage speaking to people who have the things that I pray about, the podcast, the book, the business, real estate, all of the things.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Once again, I feel empty-handed.
Mm.
What am I supposed to do with this? And as I'm thinking about it, because Jordan literally told me the day before that I had the opportunity to speak. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I felt like he told me to like stay, like rest in that place. You feel empty-handed. So I started to think about like, what does it mean to be empty-handed? And then I came to the realization that none of us are ever really truly empty-handed. And so that moment on stage in Denver was surreal to to experience it coming from a genuine place of I don't have anything, and then to allow the Holy Spirit to communicate that in such a give me an understanding in such a way that resonated with everyone in the room was surreal.
Oh,
Surreal.
yeah. No, it definitely did. I mean, wow, I feel like I was like writing down things because there's just so many like keywords or key points that you just shared throughout from. And that's why I think it's so important when we just share our story or share a testimony, because it all goes back to like just the goodness of God. And I think first and foremost for anybody who's listening, who maybe you grew up maybe similar to Shania and I, like we grew up in the faith, like in families that loved us and prayed over us, which I think is so key. Like moms, be praying for your children, because I tell you, I can relate to that. Where I feel like the devil could have had a hold on me, like, and he did. And God just though he just kept having, makes me think of that skit when, if you've seen, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like all these things come at you, temptations, all the stuff, and then it's like Jesus comes and he fights for you. And so I just feel like he's done that in my life. And it was really coming. And I've had that similar dream of like within the last 3 years and when COVID, of just really understanding who God was, for like, who did I know God to be versus like what everybody was telling me, and
Yeah.
really fully experiencing him and encountering him for yourself. And so if you're listening, you haven't like felt that yet, like just say that prayer like Shania said, like let him know, like, Lord, I just want to know you more. I just want to do life with you. And allow me to encounter you in new ways. That's why I just kept praying, like, let me know you and see you in scripture. And then journal already, because he's going to highlight so much to you. And then look for him each day, because you will start to encounter him in so many incredible ways.
Yes. One thing I feel like that kind of like still pierces my heart now is knowing that even standing in this place, because I can vividly remember the girl who was just like, didn't value herself and would just give herself time and time again. Or like I just still remember the places that I came from, to know that like God was preserving me the entire time, even in those moments, but also before, when it wasn't my responsibility to sustain my life, but it was my parents. God was still protecting this little girl. And to know, like, to see that today is just like, it overwhelms me at times, because I'm realizing like, not only did you have a purpose when I came in agreement, but when I disagreed, and then when I didn't know that this was a concept to agree or disagree to, you had already decided about me. You had already decided that I was going to be effective. You already decided that I was going to be a voice to the generation before I was just saying it because it was a good idea. And so my desire is that people, in getting to know God, get to know like he truly cares about you more than you even have the capacity to care for yourself. He's been watching you. And because he's been watching you, what he's put in you has no choice to come out at your submission and at your humbleness and like decision to do relationship with him. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes.
Because I'm still like,
We're still
surrendering things to God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
it just is continually, it's a choice every day of like, okay, Lord, I'm going to surrender this, or finding, you mentioned striving. One of the things that, we share with women, and part of our mission is to, especially being in the business world and space, it's very easy to get caught up in like doing business the way of the world, and like getting in that hustle and grind and striving, but realizing that it's not this hustle and grind of like, okay, I got to do more so I can make more money and do all these things. But it's really shifting that and operating, like you said, in that spirit of rest, of knowing and being in that, in operating in flow, that, okay, Lord, whatever you want to give to me today, but still being also diligent. And it says in Ecclesiastes, like, whatever you do, work at it with all your might. So yes, we still need to be, work diligently, work with urgency, work with that passion and purpose. But more so, if we're going to strive, like we have to strive after him and seeking him and knowing his character and his heart for us. Then know yourself, like you said, like know what your identity is, know that you've been chosen, you've been predestined. And I love you said he's been like preserving and protecting. And that's what sometimes it just like makes me tear up, because I think like all these things that happened in my life like could have taken me in a whole other direction. But it's like, no, God still just kind of, he covered me in his love, even when I didn't feel it or know it. And now you look back and you see that and you're like, wow, God, like you did that for me, or you brought these people in my life for me. And so it's just like that desire for wanting all the women hearing this to know and feel that love and that connection with him, and just be willing to submit to him and see what he's going to do. And then just like rest in him, rest in his presence and in his peace that he gives. One of my favorite verses he's really had me, Psalms 16:11, is like, you make known to me the paths of life, and in your presence is fullness of joy. And then I like to think of reverse, like if we're in his presence, we're full of joy, and he's going to give us the paths of life. Like we don't have to worry about what's going to happen next, even though it can be so easy to do that. So
yes, I think one thing that you said that also I'm so grateful for, and I think is important in everybody's journey, is that community aspect. I feel like that was my propeller in a lot when it comes to growing, but even when it comes to networking and opportunities, like preserving yourself in Christ is getting into spiritual community that can hold you accountable, that can speak to those areas that you try to hide from everyone else. Like my community that I mentioned again, but also like Jordan. Jordan doesn't know me, like he's not in my personal circle, but he's able to speak into areas that I can develop in as a speaker. And these are why I can like get on stages. Like as you pray and like stay in the presence of God, like there is such an importance of also praying for your community. Like who are the people that are supposed to be surrounding me in this season? How am I supposed to be learning for them? What level, like, and also using some type of like relational intelligence and, you know, knowing what people serve you for in a season. But like, God, who am I supposed to be around? It's so important. And I'm grateful that I feel like that's one of the greatest gifts I've gained throughout this entire journey, because now I have community. I've also learned how to love well. I've also learned how to and when I mean love well, I mean like love like Christ. Like it's not always easy. It's difficult conversations. There's like sad moments. There's difficult times, but there's also a fullness of joy when you are filled with God's love and you're around people who are like striving to do the same. Not perfect people, but people that are going after the same mission.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's one of the things I have loved, and I know we shared with you and those of you in our purpose partner community. Like that's been our whole mission, to have women partner together in faith and business and have a community. And what we've developed at Girl Power Alliance is like that kingdom minded mentorship and that leadership and having that space so women can come alongside of you and really partner with you and helping you grow and be equipped in your calling with different resources, or just having people speak into you and pour into you is so key as you're like continuing to develop into new areas of your life, and praying over those people that God's going to bring your way. I know with my husband being in, he's a creative as well. And that was, and him being in the film industry and like Hollywood. And I'm like, Lord, like that was the biggest thing I prayed for. It was, Lord, please bring the right people into our life and the right connections, and, let us be patient with those to develop too, because it can be so easy to get caught up in the wrong things, and so just like God seeing his anointing on that, even of just the people that he's brought into our life at just the right time, and so I see that over you too, of like these people he had to almost surround you with to like continue, like you said, it's a propeller. It was you to say, look, I got you, keep taking those steps, and so I love when he does that for us.
Yes, I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we got to talk today. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And just to share with you guys a little bit, and I'll drop like the different links in our show notes. But Generation Y, I mean, I had the opportunity to, that's how I met you. That's how I got to see them perform a little bit. But can you just kind of share a little bit of their mission? You talked about like being on like living, helping people to find and know about purpose, talk about purpose, and you talked about like they work with kids, but I know they have a mental wellness like mission as well. And so can you just highlight a little bit about what they do? And then I want all of you ladies, like, go follow them, go support them, because this is something our nation and world is needing so much more of right now. And so I'm just grateful for the work that you guys do. So I'd love for you just, if you could share a little bit about that, and then we'll kind of wrap up the show.
So Gen Y is a nonprofit organization that goes into schools of all types. It could be high school, middle school, elementary school, colleges, and it's not limited to schools. But the main objective, the main goal of this organization is to speak to youth about purpose and to break the stigma of mental health. A lot of times our school-age children are not only facing bullying, but with how much we've talked about mental health now, it kind of gets like watered down in the school system. And a lot of kids are afraid to advocate for their mental health, speak up for themselves, or even say that they're struggling. And so what Generation Y does is, in a creative way, we come together and speak on the importance of maintaining mental health, getting in community, and finding purpose, or knowing your why. We like to do it and get in, like I said, through the arts. And so we have dancers, and a lot of our dancers are actually NBA hip hop dancers with the OKC Thunder. and they're called the O City Crew for people that are not Oklahomans. But they go out there and they pour their time in. They are busy during the week doing NBA games, and they come in and they dance with the kids, and we pull them out of the stands, and we make them dance with us. And we really just kind of create an environment where they know that they are accepted, that our team, just like the world is, it looks so different. Nobody looks the same. No skin tone is the same. No background is the same. No belief is all the same. But when we come together, our purpose unites us. And so we just want to just impart that in the kids. And when we do assemblies, we hear so much positive feedback. The kids are following us on the gram, where we give them more content to just maintain their mental health, and just provide resources. We're building out curriculum. We have merch, but we also are building out like therapy resources. And so with me going to school, that's another function that I will be able to pour back into this organization, where the kids don't have to worry about paying for services, where because we have like a line of licensed therapists and people that can essentially help them, to help mitigate the like suicide rate that we're seeing in schools. But even if before it gets to that, like bullying, and allowing to students to really just know that it doesn't have to, like my story, it doesn't have to be planned out. You don't have to know. But when you decide to put positivity into the world, it will meet you back. And so that's a little bit about what we do. We are on all social media platforms. You can follow Gen Y at geny.co, and I'm pretty sure I can give that information to you for it to be put out. But we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You think it, we have it. and
I'm following.
and we are not limited to Oklahoma and surrounding states. We will be in Denver. We have been in Michigan. We will literally travel anywhere, because our purpose, our desire is for our kids to live past the moments of grade school and be just enriched and encouraged that they are enough. And so,
I love
yeah.
that. Well, I'm already like wanting you guys to come to our schools here in Indianapolis. So I've been talking to people. So we're hoping maybe something will come together. But I just
Yeah.
love that, yeah, the mission and the purpose that you guys are doing, and just how, and just following your story when, like, as you were talking, because I knew that Gen Y was part of like where you are now. And here, when you were sharing about wanting to dance, like be a creative, wanting to be on mission, and just how that, God just like brought those things into your life. So I just think that's so cool just to hear your story of faith and just how, God has been working. And so I think so many women will get a lot of, confidence from this too, in whatever walk they are in, and just know that you can abide in him, you can build that relationship with him, and then be willing to take faithful action forward in what he's calling you, even when you don't have all the answers, and know that he's going to align people and things along the way for you to, at your appointed time. So I think that's so exciting. Well, thank you, Shaniya, so much. I'm so glad we got to connect more.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah,
much for
yes.
having
And
me.
if people want to follow you, you're on Facebook, I know, Instagram, I'm sure, Shaniya Witcher. But is that right?
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook at Shaniya Witcher, and I'm on Instagram as Shaniya Alexis. I'll also give you that information, but it's SHANIYALEXIS. And I really hope that, I pray that this is impactful for even one person, because I've seen what, again, prayer has done over my life, but also to know that you are Natalie, building this community for this intention, for this purpose. I pray that your women leave with something after this, but also that the Spirit of God just kind of rests on what is happening in their world, so they know, like, it's not about striving. The will of God is going to come to pass, and what is theirs is already on the way.
Mm. I love that. We're going to end with that right there. So thank you, ladies. And definitely you can go leave a review and go follow Shaniya. But we're excited to see what God continues to do in your life. And So thank you for your time, ladies. We love you. And yes, we are praying over you, and we hope to see you in our Purpose Partner community. So thank you. I love listening to Shania's story just on taking crazy faith, having open hands with an open heart, and just seeing what God can do in your life. And she mentioned at the end about just the importance of being in community with others. And so you guys got to hear me share a little bit about Girl Power Alliance. And this is what we are. We are a Christ-centered community for women who are excited about growing personally and spiritually and professionally with kingdom-minded mentorship and leadership. And so you have access here in GPA to not only leverage, a body of believers, women with different areas of expertise in ministry and business, and just really so many different areas. We have over 200 plus on-demand resources for you at your fingertips to learn and grow, with the opportunity to also get paid and be able to earn a residual passive income. And that is just a huge part of our mission here in GPA and with Purpose Partners, is we really want to help women be able to walk in their calling, rise to your purpose as you pursue those God-sized dreams, and be able to be equipped in that and also have the finances to do that. And so that's what we're bringing together for women. And we also have ways for you to continue to develop as a leader and as a speaker. So we are launching our Speaker Academy once again. So if you feel called to speak and you want to know how to craft your message and your voice, when you come into the Speaker Academy, you will learn how to create your Kim 10 message, your kingdom impact message in 10 minutes. You can have the opportunity to be a certified speaker. You'll learn how to monetize speaking, how to be able to get your voice and message out there. And so this is launching July 24th. We'd love to have you be a part of it. So make sure you reach out and connect with us, or go into the Girl Power Alliance website, create your account, and then you have full access into that. It's a $4,500 program that you can get complete access to as a VIP member, just with a small, affordable monthly membership. So you save definitely, I think it's about $2,500 or more. And say you did, it's only a 9-week program. So say you stay with GPA for an entire year, you're saving thousands. So we are excited to be able to offer this to you guys, our community. And so if you have questions about GPA or how to be connected, definitely make sure you send us a message and let's chat more. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We would love to hear from you. So please share your takeaways by tagging @LiveVictorious over on Instagram and leave a review.
This will help us get more visibility and reach more women like you for the kingdom. We appreciate you and are praying for you as you shine your light in the business world and rise to your purpose.